Welcome back everyone to visionrecordingstudios.com and our YouTube channel. And today I want to do another video on another kind of a utility plugin. This plugin is by a company called Plug and Mix, and it's called the PM Analoger. It is a vintage tube emulation and tape emulation type plugin to add some nice warmth of tubes and or tape, or a combination of both, to your mixes. You can use this either on a stereo bus, which is where we'll use it today, on a drum bus we'll use it today, and you can even put it on an individual instrument. So this is another one of those little utility plugins that I think is great to have in your mixer slash producer toolbox. It's not something you may use all the time, but it's a great way to add some nice analog warmth to some tracks or an entire mix at a very affordable price. This Plug and Mix plugin is somewhere around $49. If you go out to their website at plugandmix.com, I believe if you like their Facebook page, they will send you a license for any one free plugin, so you may want to check that out. But they're extremely affordable, Plug and Mix, and they work really well. And all their plugins are laid out in a very similar fashion. They look, if you look at any one of their interfaces, they all look exactly the same. So once you learn one, you kind of learn them all. It's easy to get yourself around. So let's take a look at the lay of the land here. So on the Analoger, we have on the left-hand side a mix button that you can mix, or dial, I should say, knob. You can mix the complete simulated signal at 100%, or you can dial it back and have just the dry signal prior to it going through the plugin. Typically, you'd want to keep this on 100% if you're going to do some kind of tape or tube, saturating. You want to probably keep this at 100%. At least I do. Down here, you have in the left-hand corner the lows. In the center, we have this big knob called the drive, more or less. How much saturation do you want to have? And then we have the highs here on the right-hand side. And then we have an output up here in the top right-hand corner. What's great with the Plug and Mix stuff as well is they have a lot of basic factory presets to kind of get you going in the right direction. And typically, I just kind of pick one depending on what I'm putting this on, and then just kind of tweak it from there. So for now, we're going to just start with a drum bus. So before we go ahead and listen to the Analoger, we're going to shut it off here for a second. This is a mix by Lisa Colby. I'm going to give you a quick little listen to this, but we're using this on the drum bus. And just so you know, this is a very small session. We had just a kick, a snare, 2 overheads for the drum kit. Okay, so let's just take a listen to this quick mix here, and then we'll solo the drums, and we'll play around with the Analoger and see how it helps enhance our drum sound. So here we go.
Ding dong, ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong. I've been trying to find my way back home. Open-eyed but still lost in this world alone. I've been crying, but none of my tears will know what I've been crying and who I've been crying for.
Okay, so that's our basic track here. So it's going to loop a section here. We're going to open up the Plug and Mix Analoger, and we're going to toy around with this a little bit to see what it kind of does. So we're going to turn it on here, and let's I'm going to start with in bypass, and I'll kick it in after a few bars just to see what it kind of does. And then we'll start playing with the dials and see how this kind of enhances our drum sound. And let's solo the drums for now, and then we'll do it in context of the mix. But let's start off with in solo, so we could just listen to the drums. So here it is, bypass, and then I will bring it in. Bypass. Let's bring it in again. Okay, so instantly, just in its default setting, before we even turned any dials here, it sounds like that the bottom end gets a little bit thicker. It gets a little bit more warm. Everything pushes forward a little bit. So now let's start with the drive. Let's just see what the drive knob here does, more or less. once you get past the 60% mark, it looks like you can hear the bass drum starting to distort a little bit. So let's just dial this back a little. We'll lower the kick in the mix. Now let's play with the lows. And the highs. Okay, so this is on the tape. We have 3 modes down here: tape, a mixed, and then a tube kind of a setting here. So this is on tape right now. So let's see what happens when we just kind of switch between the modes. It's the mixed setting. So definitely some different tonalities there with the tape, tube, and the mix. The mix to me sounds the best in this particular case. So again, let's just listen to it with it on here, and then I will just turn it off, and you can kind of hear the effect when it kind of goes away. And then maybe we'll play with a few of the presets, but let's just listen to this, and then I'll just kind of bypass it. So as soon as you take it away, you kind of lose the thickness of the kick drum, and the whole drum kit kind of just sits back in the mix. It's not as powerful, it's not as exciting. So again, this is subtle, and you want to use these kind of saturating plugins or saturator plugins, tape machines, those kinds of things in a very subtle way. You don't want to push it so hard that you're distorting everything, unless that's the kind of the effect you're going for. But in most cases, at least for me, I'm just looking for something to just add a little more color, a little more mojo, little more vibe to the drum kit in this case. So this is what we have. So again, let's listen to it with it engaged. Let me crank up the drive a little bit, and then we'll back it out. We'll pull it out here and see how much we lose here. So it just really kind of compresses it, kind of pushes everything forward and gives it a little bit more life, a little bit more excitement. So that's what the analoger does on a drum bus. So let's kind of keep that in play here, and let's try it on the stereo, on the whole mix. That might be interesting. I'm going to take off the tape machine. I use the Slate Digital tape machine, but this will take place of that. So let's try that and see what we could come up with there, just to see what it does to an entire mix. Again, you can go demo these plugins as well. So demo them and play around with them like we're doing here. I just want to kind of give you an idea of what this will do. So again, right now, let's maybe we'll pick a preset. Do they have something that sounds like it belongs on a mix? I got a lot of kind of a funky names here, but let's see. Drum loop, drum tape hiss, drum bus saturator. We could try that again on the drums. Nothing really there. Let's just kind of play around with it. So let's just play it back, see what we got here. The whole mix on. That would be helpful now, wouldn't it? Let's try this.
I've been crying, but none of my tears from the lies that you hid. And
That's with a
You're
bypass.
pleading for forgiveness and want back our years. I feel this conversation is far.
Now what we could do is turn down the output a little bit so we're not having the volume increase kind of tricking us into thinking louder sounds better. You want to try to do that because we're really looking for tone, not for volume. So let's do a before and after, and let's adjust this output to kind of get the volumes close to the same.
Past repair, hey, hey. I've been trying to find my way back home. Open-eyed but still lost in this world alone. I've been crying, but none of my tears from lies that you hid and left. Astounding that loneliness hurts so bad, so bad. To find my way back home, open-eyed but still lost in this world alone. I've been crying, but none of my tears will know why I've been crying and who I've been crying for. I'm searching and still find myself lost in tears. You're pleading for forgiveness and want back our years. I feel this conversation is far.
Okay, so it gives it a little more warmth. Once you balance the output volume, it makes it a lot less obvious. It's a lot more subtle. So hopefully you're watching this and listening to this on a good set of monitors or a good set of headphones and not really like earbuds or little computer speakers. You won't hear the difference as much, if at all. But it just gives it a little more warmth, you got to be careful with the lows. You got to be careful that you don't distort things. So you got to use this subtle. You just can't throw it on there and start whipping up the dials because it's going to sound like crap. So you got to kind of be careful. But again, it kind of gives it a little more vibe. It kind of tightens up the bottom end. Comparing this to, say, the Virtual Tape Machine by Slate Digital, just the sound quality I tend to like the Slate Digital a little bit better, that tape plugin. But that's also twice the amount of money as this plugin. This one sounds pretty good. I prefer the Slate Digital now that I'm listening to it on a mix. On an entire mix, but on the drum bus, I really do like what this thing was doing to the drums. So that's pretty cool. So that's on an entire mix. Again, let's listen one more time, and maybe we'll dump it on the bass guitar and see how that helps as well. Let's take a listen one more time. I'll bypass it and I'll bring it in.
Past repair, hey, hey. I've been trying to find my way back home. Open-eyed but still lost in this world.
So there you go. It's pretty subtle, but it is there. It brings the vocal a little more forward, brings out that acoustic guitar a little bit more as well, and kind of warms things up. So that is on the stereo bus. And now let's pull this off the stereo bus for a minute, and let's just drop. I'm going to drop this on a bass guitar because I think that might be pretty cool and pretty interesting to see what that kind of sounds like. So let's put the Tape Machine, my Slate Digital, back on here.
But still lost in this world.
Okay, now let's drop this on the bass guitar to see what that kind of sounds like. And again, I will take the Tape Machine off and I will put this on in its place. Okay, this is on bass guitar. Let's solo the bass. See what we got going on here. Let's pick a preset. I need to get some bass presets in here. Bass fattener. Okay, so on bass, it just kind of tightens up the bottom end, thickens it up, and rounds it out a little bit. Again, with the distortion, the drive, you want to be careful you're not distorting the bass unless that's you're kind of going for a gritty sound. That's with it bypassed. Engage, a little more grit. It's on the tape mode. Let's go to mixed mode. Back to tube mode. We'll bypass it after we listen to it a bit. So it really fattens up the bottom end of the bass, which is kind of obvious of what it should be doing. So that's pretty cool as well. So that is the Plug-in Mix Analoger. And go out to the website, check it out. Again, nice little utility plugin to have. Just again, if you want to add some distortion to a bass, you want to fatten up a drum kit, you want to kind of put a little tape saturation on an entire mix. And if you don't have any kind of a tape saturation or emulation plugin, like Universal Audio or Slate Digital or Waves, if you don't have any of those plugins and you want something that's really affordable, that can get the job done, and again, really subtly just add some nice vibe to your mix, this is a great plugin to try out. So hope this was helpful. Again, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing our videos. I really do appreciate it. Really, really helps. I encourage you to subscribe. If you have not subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. I'm constantly adding new content to our site here. Go back and look at the archive of all the different mixing videos, tips and tricks, and different pointers on mixing, mastering, running a studio business, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's all there. And if you want some more mixing and mastering training that goes a lot deeper than what's on YouTube, I urge you to go out to my website, visionrecordingstudios.yahoo.com, visionrecordingstudios.com, excuse me. Click on the products link at the top of the page, and there is a host of products on mixing, mastering, recording instruments, so on and so forth, called the Made Easy series. Very affordable, lots of in-depth training, and an extremely affordable price that has helped a ton of people already as of this recording, October 2014. Read the reviews, they're all there. If it's something you want to take a look at that goes beyond and goes deeper than what we do here on YouTube, that is a great resource for you. However, if you just want to check out the YouTube stuff, go look at all the YouTube stuff. So again, thanks again for joining me. Thanks again for subscribing, sharing, and liking. And until next time, this is David from visionrecordingstudios.com. Take care.